Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Have you ever thought about brewing your own beer? Is the urge to brew there, but you just don't know how to get started? Well, Dudes and Beer is here to help. Stop on by the new Dudes and Beer Amazon store and check out all the great brewing supplies and gear today. We have it all, from instructional books and do-it-yourself kits for beginners to 16-gallon cooking vessels, carboys, bottling supplies, and cleaners for all you homebrew pros out there. Everything you need to brew your favorite beverages, even distilling equipment. So stop on by the official Dudes and Beer store today and get your hand on the greatest new brewing essentials. Simply visit dudesandbeer.com and click the Dudes and Beer store tab. Once again, that website is dudesandbeer.com and click the Dudes and Beer store tab today. Happy brewing, everybody. And until next time, drink responsibly.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. Well, once again, welcome to episode 115. Doesn't seem like it's been that many, but we have been clocking away and going strong here at Dudes and Beer. All kinds of stuff, all kinds of new shows like Dads and Beer and Thinking Deeply, things like that. But
as you're just a podcast and fool.
I am everywhere you want to be, Tom. Yeah.
That's a lot. 115, huh?
115. Yeah, it's a crazy number to have hit.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's been going for about a year and a half now. Right at 2 years. Just coming up at 2 years.
No.
Well, yeah, but there's been some where we've had more, some where we've had less.
Oh,
we didn't necessarily have like 52 episodes in the year.
Oh, right.
Precisely.
I hear you.
I want to say by the time we actually hit our first year anniversary, we were on episode 60 something, things like that.
So, do you remember which episode I first came in on? I've been on like a few of these.
Yeah, I want to say you were probably up around episode 3 or 4, man. I want to say you were.
Wow.
You guessed it right toward the beginning. Actually, while we're sitting here, I will Google that. And let's see.
No, don't Google it.
No. Well, I mean, by that I mean like the just the pejorative. We're gonna Google it. I'm actually going to the Dudes and Beer website and searching Thomas Metz. So that will literally, if you're looking for that, folks, if you're trying to see which episodes Amy's been on or which episode Julie came in on, literally go to the Dudes and Beer website, dudesandbeer.com, hit the little search tab, and put in your search query, and it will let you know everything related to that search. And it's connecting right now, going through, let's see.
Query means question.
Episode 4. Damn, I'm good.
Hey, that was a good episode.
That's impressive.
4.
That is impressive. Yeah.
Well, because now you have this app that I got on my phone.
You know what's weird?
Yeah.
You came in on episode 4, and that was also the same time that we had somebody from Hops and Grain on for the first time.
Oh.
And that began our love of Hops and Grain in the studio, begat our episode 100 live from Hops and Grain, as well as the beginning of Dudes and Beer Sustainability Month. That officially rings off today. We're going to be posting all kinds of videos and things like that about sustainability. We're going to be having the people from Hops and Grain, being a sustainable brewery. We're going to have them on talking about what that craft is like. How do you take a craft like brewing and actually turn it into something sustainable? Where like you're reusing all of your mash and stuff like that. Zero waste products, that kind of stuff. We'll also be talking to Minnie, the nice lady who runs the Austin Backyard Chicken program. We'll be talking to them about what it is to bring up and raise chickens in your backyard, and why that's such a good thing in this day and age of composting and things like that, as well as other guests. And you were mentioning the app. I love the app. The app is one of my favorite things in the world. It lets you actually chat with us live here on our little chat window. So if you're on the app and listening while you barbecue, we actually see your questions pop up real time and get to communicate with you. It also, I believe, alerts you. If you look at your phone, it may have alerted you that Dudes and Beer is live, if I'm not mistaken.
It alerted me.
It did? Nice. So, yeah, Dalmas is a little cranky right now. He's been sleeping all morning like a lazy head. Needs to get his ass up and get a job. Speaking of America and freedom and patriotism, he's wearing his 4th of July colors over there.
Oh,
Yeah.
So may I begin the discussion
Go ahead,
of
go
freedom?
ahead.
Because today somebody in my Twitter feed or my Facebook feed, whatever, was talking about how they were like, we don't really have freedom, so it doesn't really matter what happens. And then they also said something like, let's just burn down some building of something.
Oh,
that,
yeah, there you go.
And I was like, I'm getting real tired of everybody just thinking like, yeah, I dislike stuff, so that means I'm allowed to just hurt people and burn things to the ground. That's an acceptable way of reacting to literally anything that's going on. And I feel like it's just like a total abuse of what would be our freedom, So it makes me mad when people get all like, I'm gonna hurt this person. You're like, get out of here with that.
Go ahead, Emily. You had something to say.
I mean, so just to follow up on that, we have our freedom of speech for a reason. That's why that's protected. And I agree that it is unproductive to be like, oh, let's just burn it to the ground, V for Vendetta style. Like, that's going to actually solve anyone's problems.
Right.
That would just create more. And nurturing that society of violence or that violent culture or the thought that destroying is better than creating, it's just such a negative world to live in. I mean, be positive, see if that can accomplish anything. People that say those things, it's like, oh, look, yeah, burn it down, it's the end, whatever, it doesn't matter, we're going backwards. There's been something going on in this country, and we can't appreciate that because it's Independence Day today, in which people are literally celebrating us being like, screw y'all, we're out.
Yeah,
So,
the original Brexit.
The original Brexit. I mean, all of that has been happening for so long. Not everyone's going to be happy. I don't agree with the current administration, but nurturing violent behavior and burning things down doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It does nothing constructive. It does nothing to even propose a solution to the problem.
Not at all.
How about we actually and that's a lot of what this show was based on, because Tom knows I'm probably more conservative leaning than most people he met in Maine.
Yeah.
But that's a very low key way to put it. I'm very liberal.
Liberal here. And honestly, living in Texas has made me, I would say, maybe about 10% more conservative in my ways. I never consider myself like a bleeding heart liberal per se.
No, you're way too much of an anarchist to be either.
Yeah, that's
Quite
true.
honestly.
You are.
No, absolutely.
I
But
feel good
well,
about
and-
that. No, that's
but
like
no,
a good little
And it's-
droplet of stuff like anarchy. You're like, yeah,
and it's
okay.
proper, and it's proper
Yeah,
way,
makes
and it's
sense.
proper sense, and the fact of everybody is supposed to take care of themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not
that's
supposed
exactly
to look
it.
for
Or
other
like
people
the
to be taking care of you.
libertarian.
Yeah, exactly.
And the libertarians are probably the most like that.
Well, and
I would say I think government shouldn't be something that is that involved in anybody's life.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
the fact that we need it just shows that we need, well, I mean, in the most philosophical sense, protections from
Yeah.
ourselves.
Well, and hey, you know me, I'm a philosophy and theology student. I would love communism in its purest sense. You want to take it back to the days of Christianity where you came into the catacomb and everything that you had went to the community. It's great, but it does not work in groups over 100. In groups over 100, unfortunately, you need people in charge of certain things.
Yeah.
When I think of communism, it's funny, I think of my giant Greek family.
Mm-hmm.
We all just take care of each other. All the resources are sort of like everybody
Pooled together, yeah.
When you have my Uncle John, he's got 4 kids, and my Aunt Jay, she's got 3 kids. There's like a bunch of people just in this family, and they all take care of each other.
Well, and that's also a lot to do with the culture, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
as far as government, maybe
yeah.
not.
I mean, granted, our government is based on the Grecian government. It's based on
but Greece
democratic
has been having
voting.
some trouble lately.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And to be fair, the Grecian government is the democracy. It's supposed
It
to be
is.
democracy. And it's not really a democracy. It's
It's a democratic form of voting.
it's
and
a lot
that's-
like our system now.
Yeah.
Well,
It is, and it's exactly like our system because most people forget. Democracy is a form of voting. It's not a form of government. We live in a representative republic, which is exactly what Greece was. Greece was the fact of you got your community together, you had one elder that represented you to the state,
exactly.
and they went and they cast votes,
electoral votes.
and that's where the term blackball came from. They had a jar, and everybody went and threw in their rock, either a black rock or a white rock.
Right.
And guess what? If you went back and went, I put the white rock in, and everybody went, hey, dude, but we said put the black rock in. Like, they throttled you. Like, they beat you down because you did not vote the way that you as the representative said you were going to vote.
So it's kind of like our country right now.
Exactly like our country right
So
now.
it's basically like we have full circle of return to that.
Well, and that's just it.
100%.
You may have seen my quote on Facebook a week or so ago as Dalbus and I were watching Excalibur, the quote from Merlin. It is the doom of men to forget.
There you go.
And it's absolutely true. It's such a small piece of wisdom, but it's so true. Like, look at that. Look at what happens when you do take a representative republic, corrupt it with money, by people doing favors for people, which is what ended up happening in Greece and all over the place. We have this inherent corruption inside of us.
in the government itself, which is why
Yeah.
we're an anarchist.
Yes,
sense.
exactly. In the proper
Fail
sense.
people.
In the proper
The
sense.
government will eventually fail the people.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, the
fine.
government is failing the people, I feel like, right
Actively.
now. And I can see the malcontent in every single party, anyone on any scale of, any political side that you're on.
Yeah.
Democrat,
Well,
liberal, either.
And it's interesting that early, of course, my wife is a comedian. The first thing she's going to go to is freedom of speech. And you brought that up as well. Unfortunately, the only people that are actually protected are artists and reporters.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Like, you have your right to protest, but you don't have necessarily the right to go out and say anything you want on the street corner. Otherwise, you couldn't get a ticket for dropping an F-bomb, which you can. Like,
Oh, no.
yeah.
That's terrible.
Oh, God.
My life is over.
I know. Well, I remember when it first started happening in high schools in Texas and stuff, where they literally started ticketing kids for dropping F-bombs in hallways and things like that because it's
What a waste of our
inappropriate
resources.
speech. At the same time, what a great way to actually teach people how to operate in society. Unfortunately, you will be held accountable for what you say.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you had utter freedom of speech, the reason why it's there is so that you could make fun of the king without getting arrested, thrown into pokey, things like that. So if you're doing it on that end, sure. But people, I think, misappropriate the term freedom of speech and confuse it with their right to protest.
They've been coming for the comedians too, though.
Oh, sure.
all
Right
these-
now, in
right,
fact,
Right
yeah.
now, it's just been ridiculous. And comedians, I don't remember. I think it was Jim Carrey was saying that.
Griffin.
Well, I think it was Jim Carrey said that comedians are the last line of defense against like a tyrannical government or whatever, because they are like you said, the jesters make fun of the king, and that's what it's meant to protect.
And God bless you if you were anybody else in that court over dinner that evening and you made fun of the king, you're dead.
Right.
Quite literally. But the jester's job was to kind of get the common people's point across to the king
Yeah.
and kind of make fun of it at the same time and soften the blow of like, yeah, he's going to chop your head off, buddy. Watch out.
Have you ever read, are you aware of Hamlet at any point? In the middle of it, they do the play that essentially says, so this guy kills this guy, and that guy's doing it with this guy's wife, directly in front of everybody.
Rosencrantz
That's
and Guildenstern,
beautiful.
right? Is that, or those two people? No, that's the everything else. Go
Yeah.
on.
They're characters in the.
Yeah, they're actual
Yeah.
real characters.
But they're like side characters that got
But then
fleshed
they
out.
made it into another. Never mind. I digress.
But yeah, in that thing, people were, I remember, doing a lot of Shakespeare in college, and people would be like, that seems implausible. I was like, no, they would do that to their face. They'd be like,
Yeah.
look at this asshole and what he's
Yeah,
doing.
that was
I can't believe he's screwing it up. He's doing it with this
that was
Duchess.
his job, because
No.
even the king realized we need some levity around this place.
Yeah.
You know.
Stop taking yourself so damn seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we're taking ourselves way too seriously
Yeah.
right
Way
now.
too seriously.
I posted
Way too
the new
Everybody gets so mad
pills
about
grow a
everything.
set that's
Everything.
coming out soon for everybody to be able to take them and just grow a pair and deal with it. Man.
Oh.
I think it was King Knudsen that put that up
Oh,
originally
Ken,
that I
yeah,
dropped
Ken,
it from.
that's so
And I was like, yes, grow a set. I think
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
mean,
people need to take that right now.
Everybody these days is getting butthurt.
Oh, watch it, because that's not a good word
Oh,
anymore.
whatever. We give a shit.
I don't give a shit.
I
Not
mean,
everyone takes themselves too seriously
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Way too seriously.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And it's you can't say anything without someone being like, "You're
Hey,
you're
man,
Racist,
if you
you're
can't,
bigoted.
if you can't,
Yeah.
like you were saying, they're coming after the they've been coming after comedians. Good God, it was the beginning of the elections where some person in Chicago put up a YouTube skit about Hillary Clinton and was like the club that they perform at regularly was literally contacted by the Clinton camp and was like,
you better
who
fire
put
them.
this up? Who
Yeah.
put this video up? And like they wanted their address, they wanted to find out who they were.
Yeah.
They wanted the video removed, and it's like,
That girl got
What
fired
the-
from
yeah.
SNL for writing the
Granted.
Barron Trump thing.
okay, but see
I'm
that.
sorry, just because he's a kid, you can't make fun of him? Super
Yeah,
sorry.
well, yeah. Whenever you're talking about a 12-year-old kid, that's a little bullyish. That's a little much.
Sure.
All right.
I
get
don't
it.
I don't
And
necessarily.
we've
Is
had
your
the-
job?
We've had the discussion
No, it's
before,
your
though.
job.
How much, there was that awkward phase of Chelsea Clinton as well, where she was going through puberty, and now she's a beautiful young woman, everything else. But there was an awkward phase for her where she, they kind of made fun of her, but they never really did. Like she would be on the side.
Fun of her quite a bit.
They,
I don't remember much
I
of that.
recall them making fun of Obama's daughters.
Exactly.
There's some really not cool
If
people
you're-
that made fun of them, but
If you're the president of the United States, expect that.
yeah.
Yeah.
but he doesn't. He's the
Yeah.
worst child out of all of them. Like, he's the most butthurt person
Oh,
that
man.
ever was.
Absolutely.
Ah,
Really,
indeed.
Absolutely.
That word was
I
made
know,
for him.
Right?
I know a lot of Trump supporters, and talking to them, I understand where they're coming from.
Hmm.
He was this guy that represented the non-establishment, which is
Yeah.
that's actually the one thing that I would say is like somewhat admirable about this guy.
He was
He's
like
non-establishment.
I can't
He-
agree. I can't agree with that.
he was like if
He
Monty.
said what he wanted. He put out what those people wanted.
Yeah.
But I don't think he in any way is that thing.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
right. He's like people have an idea of what he is, but he actually isn't that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants the job,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
I think he's
No.
like, oh God, what have I done?
Well, no, quite
I think
seriously.
all of them
Like we
are.
just watched Brewster's Millions, and that's what he does at the end to start
Sure.
just spending money like mad as he runs the campaign of that dude's a crook, that dude's a crook, vote none of the above.
I think what's going to come out of this,
And then people end up voting for him, and he's like, no, you don't get it. Like, I resign. I was trying to make you pay attention to, look at these idiots.
maybe he won on non-accountability. Because maybe you think about it, like you have a president that doesn't take responsibility for anything he does, and it's somehow
That's what you have cabinets for.
well.
That's
yeah,
what you
well,
have
that's what I
advisors
mean.
for.
Like
He's just
he
firing
really
people.
doesn't. I mean, like
Sure. But that's what
he
they're
could say,
for.
That guy could say whatever he wants, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
check
now,
his
so
Twitter feed.
now you're talking about freedom of speech. Well, like our president is representing
Mm.
kind of the worst part of having freedom of speech.
I think he is most definitely exercising his freedom of speech in the wrong way.
Right. Well, yeah, in the wrong way.
Because there's
but
the
should
right
we-
way and there's the way that's like, hey man, like you just offended a bunch of people
Right.
for no good reason.
Yeah, so we have a culture of heathen,
And-
which really can be quite hazardous.
Yeah, it can be. And I mean, I've told Amy before, I love comedy, but it strikes me funny that sometimes the F-bomb or the low hanging fruit is so often what is gone after. You know, when there's the middle of the tree fruit that's really good and it's not overripe.
Well, I think what
it's not going to get you drunk and give you a hangover.
I think what needs to be gone after is the misinformation.
But there's
the blatant,
all the misinformation, and even the misinformation.
Well, when you have our president.
Our president isn't letting press conferences. He's not letting things be recorded anymore. Any of their meetings.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
Disastrous.
Well, at the same time, our exiting president, as he exited, put forth the NDAA funding for 2017, and within that was funding for an Office of Anti-Propaganda Propaganda, which basically means now you have government-funded propaganda, which they dropped the Smith-Mundt Act years ago, about 5-6 years ago, to where the government could actually tell the media what to do. Just before net neutrality went through, they were actively contacting, the FCC was contacting news stations to assure that approved messages were going out, things like that. So there's been this thing going on for quite a few years that's kind of been
propaganda.
Yeah, no, look it up. It's pretty wild. Yeah, there is now an Office of Anti-Propaganda Propaganda. And it was started on the heels of the whole Russia thing and all that kind of stuff. It's like, that in and of itself is just a huge propaganda trail. It's crazy sauce. And
it's been hard to keep up.
I don't know. Yeah, there's so much.
It's nuts. Because, hey, you could say that it did happen, but if it did happen, then the president knew it was happening. Why did he do nothing about it while it was happening? Oh, wait, probably because his party was busy rigging their primary. like you got it on both sides. So either way it went, we were screwed.
This was the most terrifyingly sad and creepy election.
I know.
I haven't been there for that many elections, and I'm sure there's always been.
I've been there for 2 more maybe than
probably,
you.
But to be fair, it's I'm watching this, and I'm obviously old enough to understand it, and it's kind of like watching a car crash in slow motion, when you can see that they could both swerve and miss each other, but the people in either of the seats are just looking dead on, and neither of them wants to turn the wheel.
Yeah,
and
they're both frozen in position.
They're both frozen in the position. You're like, this could have been avoided. Yet somehow, they're just locked on this target, and they're just going to run right into each other.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that, because right after the election, we did our episode on cognitive dissonance. And that's really what people are living right now. And I mean, on all sides of the aisle, we're all literally in such a state of disbelief. What we know is, because cognitive dissonance operates off the principle that when you are confronted with truth, like capital T truth, here's empirical evidence that disproves what you believe, you will either A, accept the evidence, and add it to your educated point of view and make your own opinion based on such evidence. You can still maintain your own opinion, but the evidence is the evidence. The proof is the proof. You can't stop that. That's truth with a capital T. Or you accept it as a tiny truth and something to be like, whatever. And you just totally ignore it. Or you come to the point, like Emily was just saying, where you're literally frozen. And there's the fight, flight, or freeze aspect. And literally, your amygdala just freezes in the argument. It does not know what to do.
Yeah.
Your brain doesn't know how to think about the information or even process what the hell's going on.
I mean, I thought you see this on Facebook all the time when somebody brings up some political thing, and then you call them out on it, and then all of a sudden they attack you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight up, they're like, you're an asshole, get the fuck off this page. You're probably, they start calling you all the names.
Oh, yeah,
It's I'm sorry to hurt your feelings, man. Somebody got fucked.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've talked all the time about how, I can't tell people what my political beliefs are because my entire job is trying to make people like me. You know what I mean? The whole purpose of the comedy shows and the, doing sort of events and stuff like that, all I want is for the audience to be like, oh, she's great. I want to hang out with her more and do stuff. But if I tell them what my opinion is and it turns out that some of the people that would be my audience don't have that same opinion, I'm fucked. So I just don't tell anyone what I think.
Yeah.
Chris is probably the only person who really knows what my political beliefs are because I come home and I'm like, all the microphones are off, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many
Please,
microphones in this
please
house.
unplug Alexa. We need to talk.
We have so many of those things.
Well, and you know, I started off telling the story earlier. Even the basis of this program, which was right up around July 4th, if you remember. Amy's birthday is actually July 5th. It's tomorrow, so happy early birthday, my love.
Yeah, what's up?
She's an undisclosed
Gifts
amount of
accepted.
years, but right around 26, because that's how Daddy rolls.
Number one, gross. Number two, I would never want to be 26. I've done it. It's so over.
So
oh my
finished.
God, years.
26 was an awkward year.
It
Right
was,
after
it
25,
was.
you're pushing towards the 30
Oh my God.
prospects,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh
It's
no.
just so weird. Absolutely not. No,
But
I'm turning 39.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say how old I am
Right.
because why not? That just means that's how many years I've had adventures
That's
on
right.
this earth. So,
Well,
see
and
what you're saying.
it was right after your birthday. We were on our way back, and I had the vision in my head of an early morning drive time show, where literally people sat around and just openly discussed subject matter. What was going on in the news? I'd had the idea for like Red Team News, where we basically take the news stories of the week once a week and just poke holes in them, and like look at this, you know, and.
I think it needs to happen more.
It
I
needs
like
to happen
that.
a lot more because it's happening on all sides. I mean, good God. One of my favorite pictures I posted this last year was the picture of the Wall Street Journal that was released right after Trump came back from Mexico. And they had two totally different headlines and stories, one of them with a blue background, one of them with an orange background, and they were both released at different parts of Texas.
Oh wait, the same.
Yeah, the
Same exact-
publication.
Yeah, same exact publication,
But
same exact story.
Pandering to different audiences.
Totally different titles and totally different slants on the same story. I'm glad that you're aware of that one, Emily.
Well,
I
the,
think
Yeah.
if we have any real problem in this country, it's that bad media.
Yeah.
the journalistic misinformation that's going around, and this is the thing, because I know I'm a liberal, but I don't actually, based on the things that have gone on, am I a Democrat? I don't know if I'd say that. But either be
Nobody
a liberal,
is.
be a conservative, be somewhere in the middle. It's misinformation on both sides.
That's right.
And like you said, go ahead, let's poke holes in it. You put a liberal and a conservative paper next to each other, and I guarantee you'll find misinformation in both of those to ignite the masses on either side, so
That's
it
right.
eventually becomes a war between each other.
That's it.
And it's misinformation everywhere. And the liberals are like, oh no, it's just information from the conservatives, and the conservatives are like, no, just misinformation from the liberals. It's like, nah, man, y'all are all just
Yeah.
crazy, like
Yeah.
listening to this stuff because it's
Well,
designed to separate.
it's the Bill Hicks puppet show.
There you go.
Literally. I mean,
It
he
is
talked
designed to
about it in his
separate.
show where it's,
It's
you know,
working.
here's
It
this
is.
dude that says this, here's this dude that says the opposite. And it's hilarious if you go back and, like, listen to the stuff that Michelle Obama was saying 8 years ago. It's the same stuff that Melania Trump was saying this year during stuff. It was like, what? It's like the pendulum swung to the opposite side completely. And, you know, the whole point of this show was to actually get people of different backgrounds, to get people of different belief systems to sit down and actually have a dialogue. Because this country was founded by a bunch of dudes that didn't necessarily believe the same thing, but they believed in one thing.
Right.
And most definitely that one thing was being betrayed by them. So they got together and talked religion and politics and economics openly in a bar. Like, why do we not do that anymore? Because it leads to fights and shootings and, like, idiotic behavior. It's like we've stepped back into the Stone Age as far as brain power is concerned. And nobody knows how to have an open discussion without it, like, opening wounds.
You know
for
what
some
makes me
reason.
think of, actually, is all the fights for hundreds of years over God.
Oh,
Like, religions essentially being like, we get the right idea. No, we get the right idea. No, we get the right idea. And essentially killing each other for that.
Yeah.
And the idea, because there's a part of being in religion that is spreading that religion. And there's a part of it that is like in a certain way, we don't think about it that way anymore. Like we go like, well, I'll just do what I'm going to do, and you're going to do what you're going to do, and it's fine. But back in the day, and in a lot of places, they still exist in the idea of like, if we don't believe the exact same thing, we are enemies, and that's it. And I feel like in the U.S., which is a bit of a godless nation, we've put politics in that same position, and now it's like to the point where it's like, if you're not in my team, you're the worst, and I hate you forever, and you're my enemy. And it's like we're never gonna get anything done acting like that. But it's also just going to get so much worse with all of the hundreds of years of people talking about God. Seems a lot like right now.
Well, it's just like anything. Divide and conquer. You divide the people in us, and then we're just a vulnerable nation with nobody agreeing on what could be a positive movement. I mean, that's really what they want. In my opinion, that's what's going on.
If I thought the bad guys, here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I am the biggest in the conspiracy theory of like, there's a bad man and he's coming to get us. Great. But here's the thing. I think that the people in charge are as dumb as the people below.
Oh yeah,
and there's no way.
No, I don't think they're right either.
But there's no bad man because the bad man's dumb. And the bad man couldn't get it done if he wanted to. Well, like, divide and conquer is what I mean, is like, there's no one coming to conquer because they're idiots. Yeah, the country might divide. Sure, that might happen. Yeah. It might become the blue states and the red states, and there's like 7 countries that divide this spot. I've always thought that, but I don't think anyone's swooping in to like change it or like
I don't know.
whatever.
I don't know the point or the purpose is.
I can see like some big rich person being like, if I can make the country fight, then I can make more money.
That
to me.
But where the industrial military complex? I mean, that was Eisenhower in and of himself as he left office, and he was a former general.
Well,
he was one of our only generals to ever serve as president, and he was like, "Listen, folks, these guys have reached far beyond what your constitutional rights are, and they will keep doing so."
But that's just one group.
I think going on that motive of having like the bad guy thing. Yeah. I think the bad guy is, it's just capitalism in general. Like, these CEOs and companies just want to make as much money as possible. So, I mean, it's a bunch of them, and they all want to make money. And the way to make money is, unfortunately, to, cut costs, cut quality, to basically try to make money as fast as you can, which you can with coal, which you can with oil. You can make money fast with genetically modified corn. You can make money fast with all these really toxic things.
Sure.
So that I think is kind of what's deteriorating our culture.
Well, I think that's definitely
at least it's a good
it's definitely a fungus on the root of our culture.
Sure.
It's something that's keeping the plant from being healthy and thriving.
But I think it's similar to what we were talking about. Money is God is this fight.
Yeah.
Money is God. If the rich people have it and the poor people don't, and they're all fighting about it.
Well, and it's funny because if you look at your dollar bill, it directly gives you a contradictory message.
I don't have any money.
There's e pluribus unum.
In God we trust. Is that what you're saying?
And in God we trust. And there's in God we trust, and then there's e pluribus unum, which is really much more the American motto. That's like, of many, I am one. Like, I'm one voice amongst the many here. I'm one light amongst the thousands of candles that are lit.
Well, I want to talk about stuff on the dollar bill. What about the clear Illuminati stuff?
I was planning on National Treasure hunting today. I mean, I have what I think might be a copy of the Declaration of Independence, and I think it's a map. So that was what I was going to do today.
Okay.
That makes sense. It would make sense if
it's in Austin, of all places. Like, where the Founding Fathers were going to hide something? Austin.
Yeah, for sure.
The seat of the new republic.
I agree. I personally probably would have put it in the Alamo, but that was kind of a bad deal. So.
The Alamo's not the same anymore. It's like too much tourist stuff. So they figured they'd go to the weird hipster culture.
Right.
Nobody believes somebody even if they did have it. Yeah, Sure.
Oh yeah, you got.
Yeah, okay.
Of
you
course
heavy.
you do.
You and
Yeah.
this guy.
Sure
You
thing.
think so. And
Yeah.
then there's 3 guys with T-shirts that
Yeah.
just have the Constitution in the front. I'm like, nah.
Oh, yeah.
I
You
get
are
it.
the key.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
man.
and you know, there is definitely, especially whenever you go back to the founding fathers, and that's what's funny, as you were saying. Unfortunately, the IQ amongst the people that are leading us just isn't there.
Everyone.
It definitely, it definitely, it definitely
I'm
like it
included
was
in
at that
I'm an
point.
idiot. I couldn't accomplish it.
okay.
I can only
I agree
accomplish
with you.
X amount, and I can't do more than that. And
Yeah,
so
I mean-
if I can't, and I consider myself very smart, like fucking, I can't
Well,
imagine
and
what
the
the
thing
rest of the
is,
people
like,
do.
at the time of our founding fathers, and even Benjamin Franklin was a huge proponent of it, senators and congressmen did not get paid, nor did the president.
I don't think they should get paid.
No. If they do get, and like he said, if they do get paid, they get paid by their constituency.
But like
that way
Tom
they
was
can be
saying, money
held-
is a
held
new
direct
god in our
accountable.
world. You can't just do it anymore.
Well, and
that's why they make so much money. That's
the
why
day-
they have so much of it.
the
They're
day
not
that-
even the representatives. They're who we are represented by. Like they're the
Right,
electoral college
Yeah.
of the world.
Well, and that's just it. People like vote for the electoral college member, and they don't really like realize that. You know, like it's
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
yeah, you know, but
People don't learn actually like general civics things. I mean, it's taught in school, but you know, I think this goes back to our culture and how nobody has ever liked going to school ever.
it's funny how over 200 years later
But
we've
still.
literally come back to this concept of
I think
what led George Washington to refuse his first invitation to be president, which was, no, if I take presidency right now, we have nothing more than a king. And people unfortunately think that like the president is a king and he can just do whatever he wants. And it's like, you know, even his like presidential things that he passes have to be passed by the House and Congress. Like they still have to be approved. You know, he can like sit back and write 100 presidential declarations every day. It doesn't mean that they're all going to be approved.
yeah,
Technically, the man
Right.
is like, he's allowed to throw a party whenever he wants. Or go visit any head of
Like
state he
Andrew
wants.
Jackson with the big wheel of cheese. I'll never forget that story. One
Yeah.
thing I learned from U.S. history is when Andrew Jackson became president, they wielded a big, gigantic wheel of cheese.
Yeah,
So when, if you're the president, you can do anything, including giving the world's largest wheel of cheese
Sure.
to your party.
sure. Absolutely. But you can't just pass any law that you
No, but you can bring all the cheese
You can
want.
bring all the, like
the
I said,
cheese
if you
want.
want to throw a
Yeah,
raging
that's what I'm
party,
saying.
you could throw a party every week, dog.
You
Because
could
that's your
be-
job, is to entertain heads of state and stuff
you
like
can be
that.
the voice of a nation.
You could be. You could be.
Well, you are, unfortunately.
At this point, it's pretty important.
Like I'm saying, you could be.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I was fine with somebody like Obama, because like he was very well spoken, very eloquent speaker, and that's what he is. He would be the spokesperson.
Yes.
You know?
No, he
Whether
knew,
or
he knew how
not,
to read a
you know,
teleprompter
That's
very well.
absolutely true.
All the bad stuff that happened. I mean, yeah, like you said, like nothing gets
The
passed
bad stuff
without-
that happens in every president.
Yeah, but that's less about the president, more about
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
Senate and the House.
exactly. Which is why, like, real people have been saying, like, hey, if you really want to wake up, pay attention to who's coming into office this upcoming November.
Right.
Because those are the
Yeah.
people that propose
Are
and
gonna-
pass the laws.
And they're going to be there for, I mean,
All these problems aren't the president's
Well, not just that, but since the 30s, 40s are the ones who now get paid for life. Even if they serve 2 years, they get paid out of a federal coffer for life. So you wonder why we've gotten to the point of people that aren't our true representatives. Because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. They're still getting their salary, even if they vote completely opposite of like 102% of their constituents, because the numbers were skewed.
margin of error.
Even if so, like they still keep their job, and I don't know how we don't just kick them, because I guess we can kick them out, but they'll just be replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happens that, I mean,
What's
I'm
that?
sure,
I don't think people know what to do.
no.
I don't know what to do.
Well, what I've noticed almost, I mean, this isn't like a big revelation, but in the media, they'll put some big cause, like something that's happened, there's this big uproar in the government and, a law that's going to be passed. And then underneath that giant thing that creates an enormous amount of public uproar and social media outrage, they passed like 5 laws or bills that no one was even paying attention to that affect us way more than that one thing that everyone was so crazy about for 24 hours.
That's how they struck down the Smith-Mundt Act, where they could literally put out propaganda.
But it makes so much sense because it's like everyone, and I've said this before, I'm like, you know that this is just a cover-up for whatever the hell else they're doing, right? Like they've got like a bunch of bills that are being passed right now, and no one's paying attention to them because they're looking at this one issue that really doesn't affect us, but for whatever reason, we're all fighting about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even healthcare, it's a prime example. Did Obamacare or the ACA give a lot of people coverage? Yes. Did it also put a bunch of people under an oppressive boot? Yes. It also made a bunch of people get fined that literally, hey, if they could have had health insurance, they'd have had it, bro.
Tom, I think you had something like that.
I had to pay close to $1,000 or
Yeah.
something. Maybe it was less than $1,000, but like it was a hefty fine, and I don't make enough money to be paying anything. I can't afford the health insurance.
You need to get into hand.
Well, no, I actually got it all squared away, but at the time, I couldn't afford the health insurance because it was actually less expensive to take the fine than pay for the health insurance.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, I gotta eat. I don't care about health insurance as much as I care about this hamburger.
Living. Like having sustenance and calories.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a healthy person. Like, I don't have a need to go to the doctor a lot. I mean, I should have health care, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But, for me, it's not worth paying, $200, $300 a month,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like your odds of getting into an accident when you leave the house. Yeah. As far as car insurance goes. Like your odds of getting hit by a car when you leave the house are probably just about the same as you getting the flu. With or without a flu shot.
Plus, there's also the principle of having, the cost of healthcare being so expensive anyway. Like, if I need
prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, if I need any serious surgery, I'm going to Spain or India or something.
My mom took a loan out to take care of her friggin' medical bills because she had to retire early from teaching.
It's literally cheaper to break your leg and get it and go to Spain for a month. Ride with the bulls.
You better break it in Spain.
Yeah, well, no, I'm saying.
You'll break the other leg in Spain.
They'll break the other leg in Spain, and it's actually
and then
cheaper
go to the hospital.
than just going to the hospital in the U.S. It's insane. It's just absolutely insane.
Well, and a lot of that is because, I mean, good God, back in the 80s, we put HMOs and insurance companies in charge. My mom was just saying this last weekend. My doctor, Robert O. Maidenberg in Houston, whenever that passed in the 80s, was like, is this going to hurt the people that I deal with? Yes. All day long, because I charge on a sliding scale. I charge on what people can actually afford. Now I'm locked down to no, if your kid needs allergy shots, you have to pay $30 a shot. I can't charge any less. It's literally, there's Steve-O. It's literally the equivalent of the federal government saying, okay, auto shop owner, countrywide, we must all charge $29.95 for an oil change. Well, what about a synthetic oil change on a V12 engine? Doesn't matter, $29.95. You're literally telling somebody what they can and cannot charge for their own service at that point. And that loops us right back to the beginning of the conversation. Freedom. What about the people in Pennsylvania who are, Pennsylvania Dutch that do not go see a doctor because of religious reasons? Now suddenly they get fined.
Or there's a couple of different religions that have that same belief. I mean,
absolutely.
So
come on over.
Yeah, freedom is a relative concept.
Well, and that's just it. Number one, it's not necessarily relative
Well,
because
it
it was kind of laid down in the whole, you know, like. Oh God, it just left my head.
Declaration of
Constitution?
That's
Independence.
the one.
The
Declaration of
Yeah,
Independence.
but
Which I was
that's-
about to go
Happy 4th of July, people.
That's
Yeah,
that's
happy
not
4th of
exactly, you
No,
know,
that's not the
that's
definition
not
of
exactly
freedom,
like how
exactly.
we're defining what's going on. Their view of freedom at the time was much different than our view of freedom. Like they had a specific power trying to rule them.
Yes.
Like currently we don't, so we
I
don't really
mean,
understand.
Freedom from
I-
basically England.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wish that it was all about life, liberty, and the
And
pursuit of happiness, but it absolutely isn't. Because if it was, then I'd get paid for writing and not going to a job that I hate.
Well, you can get paid for writing.
I can
You
get
just-
paid for writing, but
you
I would
just
be
have
able
to
to
find those
Yeah,
avenues
yeah,
to sneak
yeah.
into.
But it's not the free. It's the well,
Yeah,
that's
it's not
just,
like the U.S. government's providing these
Yeah, the U.S.
things.
government's
you
not
know
going to
what I
provide
mean?
for me for
Well,
my artistic copies.
and I-
it shouldn't. I don't think it should.
No, and I think that's
Give you the
That's the
freedom to
but
do
that's
that
the
on their own.
definition. But with the definition of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it would seem that the government was in support of those things.
Now,
Right, that's
hold
all
on,
I'm
hold
saying.
on, pause here. Wasn't it originally life, liberty, and the pursuit of property?
I don't know.
I'm not
I
sure. You'd
I
have to
think-
Google that.
We'd have to Google that one for sure. But I think that was
The pursuit
how it was
of property.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's how
women
it
were
was
considered
originally
property back then, so
Well, and
yes.
so were black people.
yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
people-
So,
a lot of people.
so most
Yeah.
of us are actually
So, wait a minute.
more than most of us were considered property.
Yeah.
At that
Hey,
point.
if you're an actual redhead, we'd have been burned as witches.
Hey, I'm redhead, just not this color.
Okay.
We have been burned.
No,
as
I
It's
witches.
true. In
I
the 1600s,
absolutely would have been
straight
burned
up.
as a witch for.
Yeah.
I mean, just by being me. I mean,
Or-
by color my hair regardless.
Yeah.
Burn anyway.
Though
Oh,
that's
yeah.
granted. Those witch hunts were before 1776.
It
So.
really is only what, like 20
That's true.
witches or something.
No, it was only 24, I think.
24 witches only got
That died.
Yeah.
But they didn't get burned. Well, that's
Well,
actually
yeah,
the
they
Salem
didn't
witch
get
trials.
burned. Yeah, that's
We have to
just
talk about
insane.
the Salem. That's like
The
nobody-
burnings happened in Europe, and they
Nobody-
happened for years.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
I brought that up at a meeting yesterday, and like half the 20-somethings were like, "What?"
Oh my god, I didn't know the Monty
made me so
Python
sad.
boys.
Made me so sad.
That's sad.
Yeah.
No.
That's okay. I was talking about like a Nirvana song, and they're like, "Who's Nirvana?"
Oh god. You know, it doesn't. It used to make me feel old. Now I just feel sad for them. I'm like, oh my god. So your idols are like the Kardashians, and I don't know, whatever the hell music is weird and on the
Nah,
radio.
you know what?
But we had all this cool stuff that we grew up with, and you were just unaware of
I
it.
just think we're getting old because these kids
Are
are
we just-
Oh
probably.
no, most definitely. Because I
These
mean,
kids have
I'm not
bands that are.
old.
When I listen to some of these, like I teach, so when I listen to some of these kids' bands that they listen to, I'm like, okay, this band actually isn't terrible. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
You know? I'm just old, so I'm like, this isn't Nirvana or Soundgarden or David Bowie or whoever else.
Yeah.
But like,
Well, Bowie transcends time,
but
so
Bowie's,
like we
Bowie's
can't
his own
really.
person, yeah.
Bowie's
But
timeless.
Yeah.
He's something else.
well, and speaking of Bowie and freedom and property, such as intellectual
Let's
property,
wrap it all up
Interesting
such
together.
What
as,
is
such
gonna
as
happen
intellectual
here?
property.
Okay, here we go.
In an article titled The Pursuit of Happiness, posted at the Huffington Post July 4th, 07, Daniel Brooks summed up what most of us learned in school. The 18th century British political philosopher John Locke wrote that governments are instituted to secure, quote, the people's right to life, liberty, and property. And that's John Locke.
That's not the.
That's the
not
English
Declaration
philosopher.
Of, yeah.
In
And Locke-
1776, Thomas Jefferson begged to differ. When he penned the Declaration of Independence ratified on the 4th of July, he edited out John Locke's right to property and substituted his own more broad-minded, distinctly American concept, the right to the pursuit of happiness.
Well, that was a pretty snaky move,
It was.
actually. if
It
you think
was.
about it.
Hey,
Now
he-
Because he, like I was saying, our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, people like that. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jackson because he was called Old Hickory because he
Yeah.
had his hickory walking stick, and suffer a fool to speak in front of Jackson, because if you said something idiotic in Congress, he would straight up get up and hit you with his walking stick.
See, I think that needs to happen more.
I think it needs to go straight back to the.
That's like
You ever
Bernie
watch the
Sanders.
House of Parliament?
Dude.
Where they literally get up, and I mean, they used to make fun of it all the time on Saturday Night Live back in the day in the '90s, you know. But they literally go, the good right gentleman from the Right House. I do not agree with him. He's a fool and a blackguard. You know, and it's like they'll literally go after each other and like, yeah, you know, I remember 3 years ago when you said this. You know, has he made any good on it? No. So why should we trust him today? Harum, harum, harum.
They do still
Great.
do that. It's just people don't care.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Bernie Sanders, that old guy, he's just talking out of that.
It's okay. They're
He's not
involved
going
in
to.
some big fraud now,
Yeah.
which is what happens.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't actually.
I know. It doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Seems like his wife really did kind of do some defrauding.
Yeah.
It seems like she really did kind of make it seem like to the bank like they had millions and millions of dollars of money coming in from donors, and they really
Oh, they weren't. Well,
Yeah, but if I
Well,
defraud
yeah.
the bank, does that ruin everything you've worked on?
Yeah, if I'm a political figure and you like and the party that we decided to join suddenly rigged their own election, yeah, it kind of cascades things. You know, really, before that, the only strike that Bernie Sanders had against him was quite literally the veterans care system, because he was the one that was put in charge of revamping that whenever we started basing the ACA on the veterans care. Veterans care is so great, we're going to make the ACA just like the VA. It's like, go talk to a vet. See,
They-
like they're dying in droves.
They're
and they
literally
can't get an
terrible.
appointment.
Or if they do go in, they're put on 15 different medicines
Yeah.
for like their PTSD, and then expected to like weirdly
Yeah,
live through
like
it.
they're coming back labeled, like straight up psychologically, and you know, it was one of those like
It's hard enough.
that to me was really my only strike against him, other than the fact of right there at the end, he took the I off his name and made it a D. It's like, you've been an I the whole time. You're not a D. Don't go be a D.
Don't be a D.
Don't be a D, bro.
Nobody wants
Stay
to
as
be
an I. Like, had things played out, because whoever it was, like, would have been destroyed by the Clinton war machine to begin with.
Yeah.
That was the point, yeah.
Whoever's running against her in the Democratic Party. And she even said, on Meet the Press before the primary, like, listen, we're the party of the center left, and for the longest time we've had the center and we've been missing the left. Bernie brings in the left.
Yeah.
So it was like, bring him in and then call him out.
Put 3 podiums up there.
Yeah, well, it would be nice if we had 3 podiums. It would be interesting if anybody would actually sponsor that debate. But typically the independent is literally turned away. The last independent candidate we had was Ross Perot.
Right.
Everyone remembers that.
Everyone remembers Ross Perot.
I remember his ears.
That's-
I remember the years. I like
He's
that.
he's the coattails that Donald Trump just rode in on.
I don't know. I know, right?
Straight up.
He's
Like,
Ross
he
Perot,
was
get
the
there.
Ross
With
Perot.
some Coca-Cola.
It was funny because like, had Ross Perot gone Republican, he'd have won.
Probably, yeah.
Straight up. Had he not been hardline and stayed his course as an independent, he probably could have taken the election. He had enough support.
I mean, the irony there is, if Bernie had remained in the independent column, he wouldn't have gotten the traction that he did. But by joining the Democratic ticket, they used him as the fall guy to get Hillary up there.
And to
That
utterly
would be
crush him in
irony.
his, well, and
Yeah.
that's just it. To
About
utterly
him, I'd
crush
be
him in that
I
moment.
know.
Oh, well, and you know, it's
You gotta
kind
try
of,
to mess
it's one of
yeah.
those, like, you
Got
join
used
into
to
it
be-
because how else are you going to get that far? But had he just stuck it out, I think this probably would have been our first election where people would have paid attention
To
to
the
the eye
independent, yeah.
and been
Yeah.
like,
I
wait a
would have.
minute, because all the other crap would have happened regardless. Every bit of it, the rigging of the
Yeah,
Democratic
and
primary.
he would have been associated with it. He would have been in the running
Exactly.
still. He still would have been in the running.
Exactly, and
I went out of my way to vote.
Yeah.
I went out of my
With
way to
40%.
vote for
My-
Bernie Sanders in the primaries and
my big
like
my big problem
miss
was
work for it.
was just that. that he kind of betrayed himself and what he stood for by becoming Democrat to begin with.
I don't know.
And not staying
Honestly,
independent.
And like it's funny because
But-
like he's how old is he? He's like almost 80 years old.
Sure.
So I mean,
Trump's in his
he's-
mid-70s.
Right.
He's like
Now that
72.
facelift,
But what I'm
his
saying-
face is like an 8-year-old.
So Trump.
What about
Trump
that
really
suntan?
isn't-
Because he made an 8-year-old.
Big sun.
Exactly. Literally why I said that.
This is what happens when you drink the blood of
Yeah,
8-year-olds.
yeah. And I think what Bernie.
I thought we were going to make fun of children, okay?
Oh, I know, it's so
Let's don't
bad.
make fun of the poor
I
dead
was told-
8-year-old.
Yeah, the
Earlier.
poor,
The newborn dad
poor
on the children.
innocent Trump preyed upon.
Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think both Bernie and Trump were both not Democrats or Republicans.
No, and that's
You're
just
right.
it.
Fair. I mean,
Trump's
and-
never voted
Trump was smart
Republican. He's
enough
never
to
given
go-
money to Republicans.
But Bernie was trying to do what Trump did,
Yeah.
and get into a party where
Yeah.
he could just be like, well, I'm not really a Democrat, but this is my only option. If I want to win, I need to run as
But then why have you been an independent for so long?
Well,
It's just my
right.
philosophic
Yeah,
question.
so, I mean,
That's the point.
and
My
what's going on-
pragmatic
Because he
question
truly believes,
is why.
don't be a D, be an I.
And,
I
you
think
know,
he was
so
desperate. I mean, look at the guy. His hair's all messed up.
It's
and then
Don
he's like,
Brown,
he was a little
guys.
disheveled.
He just came from the DeLorean to see the future.
Yeah.
He knows
Yeah.
what's gonna happen.
God, good God, all that plutonium exposure, you think that there's
It's
something wrong with him?
the radiation just kind of got to his
I mean,
brain. He's up there with so many, like 15 watches, like
Yeah.
on his wrist. No one knows why.
Really?
Damn, where is that kid?
garbage, Monty. I need garbage.
Yeah, I need garbage. I need fuel. But,
wish, man.
I mean, it was just funny to me because before he joined, both him and Trump, before Trump joined the Republicans, before they were both decrying rigged.
Well,
The elections are rigged. They're rigged. They're rigged. They're rigged.
You
And it's
know
like,
that
why would you go be part of that rigged system?
You know that
Yeah.
Trump
Staying
is
independent.
actually...
My heart sunk when he decided to go to Democrat.
Yeah.
Because he always
You could go back and listen to the episodes, and when it happened, I was like, I can't do it. I can't stand behind the guy anymore. I can't really be there. I
Yeah.
understand what he's trying to do, and I'd be about it had he just stuck to what he was.
Or even maybe say after he lost the Democratic primary, maybe, okay, I'm going to go and run still as an independent, see what happens. I mean, what does it matter now, right? I mean, I guess hindsight is 20.
Well,
I don't think you're allowed to after the
That's
primary.
true.
Yeah.
He probably didn't want to be assassinated.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
support Hillary. You know that he's like, I support Hillary Clinton as our
Partying.
next president.
Partying with Seth Rich is what he'd be doing.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
That was a
I mean,
mugging.
Sure it was. A lot of muggers leave your watch and jewelry and cell phone and wallet on you and shoot you in the back and just run off.
Legitimately.
Legitimately.
That's exactly what happened.
People don't see.
Yeah, it happens all the time that you get shot 3 times in the back and all your
And
valuables
all
are
your
on
valuables.
you.
Your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which is a fancy ass neighborhood.
Yeah.
Some
While
baker
walking
just
on a
wandered
lit
in and
walking
decided,
path.
They decided that they needed to just,
Yeah.
shoot this guy and leave all of their valuables.
Nobody knows nothing.
This has got to go down. I'm a broke homeless guy. I only
But I
have
don't
9
need the
bullets,
money.
but I'm going
I
to use
don't
3.
need- Yeah, I don't need the money though.
Yeah. No.
Let me use 3. I was just thinking, well, maybe that person just really likes using guns, and then you're like, oh, I only used 3 bullets out of 9. You're right. He's not into it enough.
Yeah, I mean, at least 5,
Use them all.
Use the whole
Something.
The whole
Something,
idea
man,
is that
empty
you're
it.
there to have a great
Pull it
time
till it
shooting
goes
your gun.
click.
Maybe you want to save some bullets.
Use the whole clip.
right
That
off.
shows you got
Yeah,
aggression.
you're right.
might be emotional.
No.
If you use
I
the
just
whole
think of, like,
clip, you
Yosemite
might be
Sam.
emotionally
Ladies
unhinged.
and gentlemen, despite any freedoms you may have, Dudes and Beer is not an advocate of violence in any way, shape, or form. Do not go out and start doing that foolishness.
Unless it's Yosemite Sam.
Unless it's Yosemite Sam.
Unless you're a
Check that
cartoon
crazy
character.
picture out.
And try not to fire any guns in the air this 4th
Yeah.
of July also, because you know what? Those bullets do come down.
They do. and at twice
No,
a
I
day.
think North Korea sent up a rocket the other day, maybe or
It
something.
did. Yeah.
I mean,
Did it come back down?
They've been they've been landing them, man. They've actually been like hitting things with accuracy now, so it's kind of freaky.
That's amazing.
Because
They got
of
accuracy
course,
now?
like, well, I mean, that's been their whole thing is that they can't get anything beyond the atmosphere right now.
Unfortunately, North Korea can't get it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the
See,
issue.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Kim Jong had some problems getting them up.
Yeah.
But they actually broke orbit reentry about a month ago, where their first ICBM actually went into orbit and came back in
If
successfully.
they want to hit like LA, they probably could.
The idea, really, and if you think about it,
They're still not able to strap a nuclear warhead.
to take things, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they can. Sure, they can. If they can make it come down and hit the ground, they can
They
make
say
it do
there's
anything.
more stuff to it.
Whether it's accurate or not is the question.
Right.
They can. You don't have to strap a nuclear warhead
It's like
to
playing
it.
battleship. You can get it up in there, but landing it where you want it to land.
Strap a 1 megaton warhead to it
I
and
don't think they're
explode
that
it like 20 miles above ground and just take out a power grid.
Right.
Take out a third of the country's power.
Take out all the power grids.
Don't-
Once we lose our social media,
You'd have to have a
Don't
pretty
tell
big grid.
them what to do.
But they
Don't
already
tell
know
them,
what
yeah,
to
don't
do.
tell
Where
us.
Keep
Keep
your
your
good
good ideas to yourself, all
That's why
right?
there's these sitcom shows.
By the way, that will
Learn
never
from
work.
it.
We're just kidding.
First
Yeah.
it's a show, and then it
Wink,
actually
wink.
happens.
Imagine the CIA.
That's not how you should do it at all, Kim Jong.
Yeah.
And I know I don't think you're a listener, quite honestly, unless you're listening through Russia or like Saudi Arabia, because I have yet to see North Korea listed
You notice on its
on
damn
our
video.
analytics.
I don't
never
know.
really caught.
Big
Or
yes
South
to my
Korea.
fan, so
Or South
sorry
Korea.
about that.
We had quite a few in Croatia for quite a while. We had quite a few in Saudi Arabia and Iraq for quite a while. A
What's
good
that?
Israeli listening audience. I'm just talking about our audience demographic.
Yeah.
We had a really, really huge surge of Russians. So, hey,
Yeah. We
go
did.
Russians.
Yeah.
I'm
Iraq
all
was
about
a big
you.
one.
Dudes and vodka.
Dude,
Vodka,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
with you.
Dude,
yeah.
that'd be badass, man. I'm all about it.
Actually, tell you what, you're saying that, talking about freedoms.
Why don't you give a vodka shot?
No. But we do have some rum.
I need some. Give me some.
We do have some nice 4-year rum
Is that patriotic?
that
It's
my
from the
brother
pirates.
brought me.
Sorry,
Actually, that's more patriotic than you could ever think. You want to take it over, Mr. New Englander?
Not like
No, I'm talking about pirates
Oh,
and stuff like that. Come on, dude. Like, the Northeast is crazy with, like, pirate
Well,
pastries.
okay, so we have been to
What?
I thought
Salem.
that was a
No,
Caribbean thing.
no.
No.
Salem.
That
we
was
went
the
to Salem,
stuff.
they have
That's
local
right.
okay,
Yeah,
so
I
we
know. The pirate museum's great there.
When
Yeah.
we used to take road trips up to Maine, we would stop in Salem because I love Salem.
Dude, Salem
It's
is...
such a fun little town.
It
And
is.
they
We like
have
to
like
go every time we're in town.
they have the pirate museum
Yep.
and they have the
It's-
witch museum. It's
yeah.
like what's better, pirates alone or pirates and witches? Put your heads together, folks. For
Sounds
both
like
of them.
Halloween,
That's right.
dude. Pirates
It's-
and witches, dude.
Actually, yeah, it's the closest thing to Halloween Town, I would say.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
It
It
is.
really is.
It is.
Really,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
We're gonna love Salem.
It's great there though, and
Yeah.
and there's water and seafood and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Except
sort
that
of
New
the
England
nicest of the
Oh,
surly,
that's out.
you know.
Want to get down
Oh,
there?
Whenever I go up to England, to New England, I always do what I call Lobster Fest. And it's just for myself. I know that I'm ripping off Red Lobster, but I literally every time we go anywhere, I will order a lobster roll or a lobster themed dish.
Yeah.
That will be all
Sure.
I eat for the entire
Oh,
time.
no, I pretty much
hear
save
ya.
my... I mean, I eat a little bit of
That's what I'm eating.
seafood down here, but most of my hardcore seafood eating is saved for the East Coast whenever I go over there for gigs.
Such stupid water.
Or
Got a
whenever I go over
restaurant
there
called
for
Green
food.
Lobster. I swear I'm not ripping off Red Lobster.
But yeah, my
Slightly
brother
off
Randy, recently went on a liberating trip and brought back this rum. It's nothing crazy, but I'm gonna pass it around so everybody can have a little nip and enjoy. You want some?
Yeah.
Go, baby.
Just sharing the
That's
spirit
it.
of independence
That's
by being
it.
a pirate.
Pirates
Well, and-
Fire Rum,
They were.
130 proof.
That's right.
This is the first alcohol I've
Bahamian
had since
rum.
I've,
Are you
Bahamian
serious?
rum.
had
Really?
food.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Whoa.
L'chaim.
That's
Make
been
sure
a
you're
while.
L'chaim.
that was the
Mazel tov.
The Strovia.
Nostrovia, chin
Kinda
chin,
hard.
salute.
That's right.
Thank you for taking it on my
Yeah,
hand.
that face doesn't really make me want to take
Hey,
you.
man.
Well,
Like
Yeah,
the damn movie
she's not a
thing.
shooter. I mean,
I'm also very dramatic.
yeah,
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a good
kind of her
quality.
job.
It's a thing.
You know, they wouldn't have.
Yes, it's rum.
Oh yeah,
Steve-O,
I'm
drink
super
it.
dramatic. I mean, I'm a
It
redhead.
tasted
so-
less like a pirate than I wanted
I was looking
to,
at the.
but
I thought this was like some like and I was like, man, this is just the movie damn thing on here, dude.
But the idea here is that
And I saw the recent one just recently.
pirates were some of the first people to tell the Northeast India Trading Company
To go screw themselves.
to go screw themselves. And quite honestly, that people
Nice.
forget. That's what the Boston Tea Party was about. The Boston Tea Party was directly about the East India Trading Company bringing in tea, which was taxed for us to bring in, but was not taxed for them
Too many
to
times.
sell to us. So we literally rebelled over a corporate tax break.
Dude, that shit
That
goes-
was our first rebellion
Yeah,
against the empire.
That's the
Oh, yeah.
And before that, the Buccaneers and the pirates were Buccaneers, and they actually worked for the British government, going out and robbing vessels from other countries like Spain and things like that,
Oh, no.
under assumed or false flags.
That's a legit,
They would fly a false flag of truce or fly a flag of Spain or something
Pirates
like
for
that,
hire.
and they'd be like, "Oh, look, there's a Spanish vessel. Let's hop on over, see what the news is from the mainland, stuff like that." Because
Oh.
hey, what the heck? They're flying a Spanish flag. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
And then before the point of boarding, just before they would fly their
The
pirate
Jolly
flag.
Roger.
Their Jolly Roger.
Or
that was
there's a
one
variety,
specifically.
There's a variety.
The
of
Jolly
different
Roger
versions.
is the one that everybody knows
That's
with the
probably
skull
the
and
most
crossbones.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that kind of means like no, don't take no prisoners type thing.
They're literally
Yeah,
like
like
they're
that.
literally like
the
regiment
words
flags.
when you want to see.
Things
And
like that.
if you go to the Pirate Museum in Salem, and I'm not trying to plug that, it's just fun. We have all the
It's
different
great.
pirate
I'll plug the
flags.
shit
out. Yeah. No.
It's
Why not?
Okay.
fun.
It is. It's great. It's interesting because that is a part of our history. Like the whole, and people forget that the pirates were a huge part of American
Right.
history.
Yeah, America.
Huge part of
What
early
about
America.
like Louisiana and stuff like Lafayette?
Yeah. Jean Lafitte.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
one.
yeah,
That's
there you
the
go.
one. Yeah, that's
Jean
the one I was
Lafitte.
thinking.
Absolutely, and not just that. There was actually a plaque before you were just in Galveston. Did you see the sign as you crossed the causeway that pointed and said historical marker? That is actually a historical marker. Jean Lafitte
Yep.
actually defended the port of Galveston in the Spanish-American War.
Right. I think it was
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson gave him a full pardon for
Yeah.
helping out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, someone pardoned that.
Yeah. Yeah, he
And
gave him full
quite sure
pardon
if he
for
could
helping
trust
him.
him, supposedly. 'Cause
Yeah.
He was a pirate, but he
Yeah.
actually showed up when he needed him and helped defend it off.
Guys,
Absolutely.
America was
It was like one of
started
those
by
good pirates.
crazy people.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah,
Like,
they wanted to
there's
escape.
no
bad term.
way
quite
that
literally.
our country could have begun just the travel, just the sheer travel of the original crowd, right?
Oh,
First of all,
The Dutch
First of all,
settlers?
the basic people that are already here, the Native Americans. All right, we got a travel situation going on right now to begin. Then the next thing is that, we've got all these people who have to travel months and months to get there, which means they're hardy, they're crazy, they're intense, they went through some shit.
They started
And they're
hanging
like,
people,
really? And then the
Emphasis
people
shit.
who are their forebears, the people who were born after them, because, it was a bunch of years before it really, became the country, right?
Right.
But that's in our blood, the blood of the people who are like, adventure, let's do this, or
Yeah.
let's be a pirate, or let's travel in a boat for way too long, absolutely
Let's
not,
travel in a boat for way too long.
I would
Yeah.
love to travel.
I
in a
could
boat
die,
for way
it's
too
cool.
long.
Dysentery, whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
and think about
Now-
that though.
Not dysentery, but
If you're-
willing to risk it.
If you're
if
if you
Sorry,
were
I'm
in
going
such
Oregon Trail all of a sudden. You're
if
off
you
to
were
the
in
side of
I'm down with Oregon
Boom.
Trail too.
she went Donner Party
Exactly.
on you.
That's
That's why
Or
the
at this
Texans are
point,
crazy,
at
too.
this point, actually,
I think my
Jamestown,
rap-
You know what? But
because there was cannibalism in Jamestown as well.
there was
The
your,
first settlement in America.
there's your freedom there, right there. The freedom to eat your
I
neighbor.
wish
shit.
if things get too
Nice.
hardcore, yeah.
If you go to like Montana, it's kind of like that still. Like, that's what I
Montana,
wanna
there's like 7 people that live there total.
Yeah,
So they
exactly.
can't eat
So
each
they're
other
like,
'cause
well,
Yeah.
if shit
never
goes down,
been
I'm kind of.
It's a lot of cattle there.
We
though.
was hungry.
They don't have cattle.
It was a bad winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all leathery and thin. It'd be bad.
Yeah.
That'd be,
No,
wouldn't be
and
delicious
that's
at
what's
all.
funny is you don't hear too many stories of cannibalism in Maine.
Oh,
They
wait,
have bad
no.
winters, all right?
But that's still like.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can hear about it.
I feel like I've heard of some cannibalism in Maine.
That's
I read a lot of Stephen King.
I also
You'll
feel
love
like
it.
I've heard about cannibalism in Maine. Come on.
I don't know
It's
about that.
cold there. People freeze.
It's not that cold.
That
Oh,
just, it just packed them in. You know, you're like, hey, he's here. He's frozen.
It's kind of like a Vegas situation. It's like what happens during the winter in Maine stays in Maine.
Yeah, yeah.
If we cannibalize Joey during the the winter months,
Sounds like
we
I
just
can
don't
make
talk
money off
about
that.
it.
Hey man, it was really difficult to get to my car.
The way
It
life
was
ought to
parallel
be.
parks.
That's the state motto.
We all
the way
live in
life ought to
Maine.
be.
What happens in winters in Maine, including cannibals and stays in winters in Maine.
That's right.
Going on
Yeah.
Maine.
It's the way life ought to be, but isn't.
Well, they smoke all the weed and then they're stuck in the cabins in the snow. So, I mean, the cannibalism will happen. The monkeys.
Oh no! I mean, I definitely realized when I was in Maine.
If they don't have TV,
Yeah.
they're in trouble.
No, I mean, really, if you look at
I love Maine so much.
two of the biggest states for breweries are Maine and Alaska. That's because like they go through those extremes. Not just that, they have a crap ton of really, really, really clean water that's like straight up glacial melt and awesome. But
Glacial melt.
But it's
Why
also-
isn't some drink called that? I'd drink it.
Oh, this glacial
that, people.
melt tastes
I believe
real.
it's called
Right?
glacier
Ooh.
is the name of it. Is the glacier water that you can buy.
Anybody got a glacial melt?
I love the
Yeah,
dark one.
not in Parkstrom. But they have more. Maine and Alaska, and I think Portland, Oregon, have more breweries per capita than any other cities in
They got
America.
that good water.
Or-
Not like down in Texas.
Washington too is. Very,
That's what I'm saying.
They don't
Yeah,
that whole
Yeah.
Northwestern.
yeah, and I think it's because of the same thing where, whereas y'all have snow, they have rain. Because
Well, it
the
hasn't
weather
really-
system hadn't moved over yet, so it's just rain, and it hadn't gotten cold enough. So like you both deal with the same amount of gray,
Yeah.
like where literally, hey, it's
Yeah.
gray for like I thought seasonal affective disorder was some bullshit. I'm not even gonna
Hey, I
lie.
get sad.
Until
I get sad all the time.
until I moved to Maine, and it was like, holy crap, I am literally deprived of. Say what you want about the Texas heat, but at least we got sunlight for
God.
like 8-9 months out of the year.
Yeah. Get
There's
that
a
vitamin
good
D.
4 or 5 months in Maine where it might crack a smile outside. Other than that, it's going to be great.
I still remember this one.
It's cold and it's gray and it's
one
going to last you
June.
for the rest
Yeah.
of your life.
Yeah, it's like
There was one June in Maine.
This is why I
where
left.
There was every day it rained.
Yeah.
There was no sunlight.
yeah,
It was like insane. It was like, I'm gonna kill myself.
yeah. We just got done
I
with this.
did.
We
I
just got
did.
done with this. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like living in
That's
like,
depressing
you know,
for me.
I mean, I've been to Seattle and you like,
Yeah.
it's the same kind of thing, you know. It's
Yep.
just, like people there, it's like, you know, I can understand why people are depressed in Seattle because holy shit.
I mean, Nirvana makes so much more sense, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nirvana makes sense. Alice
Yeah.
Cooper, those-
One of the first
Yeah.
tours I ever went on as a theater tour was a play about heroin abuse. And we did Q&As after every play because there was such a major problem.
8 hours in Maine.
We went all over Maine. We went to all sorts of different theaters in Maine. I had no idea it was a big problem till we went and we did this event, and it was a hit.
Yeah, well,
Crowds of
they
people.
do all that
It's a
like,
problem.
Oxycontin.
Yeah.
That's like the hillbilly heroin.
Whatever to numb yourself, right? You just gotta get numb. It's
Yeah.
like, oh
Well, it
man.
blew my mind when I moved there. The huge and rampant use
Oh, it's everywhere, man.
of opioids and stuff like that.
I was thinking like West Virginia is a huge problem.
Oh yeah, and every time I drove through West Virginia, I'm like, okay, so Deliverance playing in the background.
Don't even jump.
Oh.
I'm like, is this where I die? Maybe.
Well, that's where Mothman's from.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
Point Pleasant, Mount or West
Okay,
Virginia.
okay, yeah.
They have a whole museum
I
and
forgot
a
about- I've seen
statue.
a lot
And
of
the
stuff
fun
on
thing
that.
about the statue is it's got Burt Reynolds' chest and then an insect head
Why wouldn't it?
and then wings that look like butterflies.
So it had a hairy chest, right?
Yeah, like a like burly,
Yeah, I was
hairy
like, you know,
How
chest.
did you know it was Burt Reynolds' chest?
Because it's this big silver statue and it has like an ant head on it and then butterfly wings and then just like Burt
Got a
Reynolds' body.
Firebird belt buckle
And then
on.
just freaking Burt and it's silver.
And he was buff. He was like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, I guess
I
that
think
is
it-
Burt
Plus
Reynolds.
Lonnie
I think it was
confirmed
the swooning Sally in his arms.
Oh, but those are Mothman,
Yeah.
like IV or something like that.
yeah, it was gross.
Yeah.
We donated it to the Cryptozoology Museum in Portland.
Nice. Little Lauren Coleman.
We're immortalized in the Cryptozoology
Oh, yeah?
Museum in Portland, Maine.
That's awesome.
Kind of. Well,
Lauren
she's like,
Coleman's
do
awesome.
you want to put your name on it? I'm like, no.
What did you give
We
him?
didn't
Oh,
put
you
our
should.
names
Not
on
that-
it.
What'd you give him?
Oh, now he's got it.
Yeah, we just gave him a
Yeah,
can
yeah.
of Mothman.
So,
IPA. There
we
you go.
told...
Oh, Mothman
We
IPA.
went to
Yeah.
the Cryptozoology Museum in Portland.
Yeah.
We told them that we've been doing like kind of a cryptozoology tour, so we like went and saw like the Mothman and the Champy at Lake Champlain.
Yeah.
And we just kind of wandering around. We get there and it was talking about the fact that they have a Mothman like IPA that they brew there. Worst beer I've ever had. Like it's freaking terrible.
Well, it's
Made with
like,
grandma.
It's
Made
very
with
like
real Mothman.
it's
Real
like
Mothman
really
XP.
dark.
Like,
Actually,
we don't know.
it wasn't terrible. It was just
It was pretty bad.
I'm definitely scared.
okay. It was pretty bad.
It was a pretty bad beer. But the can
Well,
was awesome.
I'm
It
not a
says
big porter
Mothman
fan,
IPA on it. And the chick who was like there that day was running. She got so excited when we told her, she's like,
Yeah, it was
"Do you
big.
have an extra can?" We're like, "Yeah, we could probably give you one of our empties in the back." She's like, "Please." So apparently they got like a whole like shelf of the different cryptozoological animals that have been made into beers or
Okay.
beverages.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
we just put it in the case along with the other.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Totally.
That's really cool.
Totally. Yeah. I remember the Lauren Coleman is the gentleman who opened the Cryptozoology Museum in Portland. I used to hear him on Coast to Coast AM all the time back in the day in the 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, I remember that was opening like right as I left. It was opening up. It was like, oh man. Like I had a chance to see him one time because he had a completely wrapped vehicle with it on there. And it was like, oh my God, it's Lauren Coleman. Like, what the heck? So like, yeah, I talked with him whenever he got out of his car. That was my one brush with Lauren Coleman.
Now talk about freedom, man. Those creatures are the only free things on this planet anymore.
Right?
They're not free. They're hunted to extinction by men who immortalize their fantasticness.
Well, I mean, I feel like Bigfoot's like he can do whatever he wants at this point.
No, they actually just in Round Rock put up some Bigfoot signs because apparently there have been some sightings
I
in
don't
the
think
Round
we have
Rock
the
area.
chupacabras
Hey,
anymore.
check this out. Yeah, there's a
No,
new
there's
series
like a-
coming out. Rob Lowe's having on TV. I don't know if you're
Oh,
aware.
yeah?
With his sons. He's got 2 sons. And one of their, I guess it's season 1, they actually went out and supposedly, encountered Bigfoot and stuff. They're like doing this thing,
Yeah.
And so they've got some footage and yada yada. And, but it doesn't sound like this huge publicity thing, I mean, come on, Rob Lowe's already Rob Lowe. And, it's
Well,
his
well,
son.
and
The
that's-
Leonard from Wayne's World.
Well,
yeah.
and that's something.
He says he's so
Here's
sure that
here's the
Bigfoot.
thing. Here's the thing, though. Whenever you talk about things like that, number one, what the hell does Rob Lowe have to gain from it? He actually has.
to lose. So
Exactly. He has nothing to gain. If anything, he has credibility to lose in
Hey,
Hollywood.
As far as I know, he's not a
But,
Scientologist, so.
No.
That's good. I'll give him.
And
thumbs
even
up
if
for
he
that.
was, the Scientologists could have left and things like that. There,
Hey, I would appreciate
He
Rob
moves
Lowe
closer
being
to my
a cryptozoological
Hey, man,
supporter.
to me, anybody that wants to search for truth with a capital T I'm all about it.
Yeah, the truth is out there, man.
It is. And to me, it's the fact of we've had anecdotal stories, especially here in Texas, from the Tejas Indians, people like that, for years and years. There's a huge Bigfoot community that searches up in the hill country near San Antonio. There's one in East Texas, over near Huntsville. Huntsville was a huge Bigfoot.
The famous
hotspot.
prison.
The famous prison.
The truth
The
is
truth is
Truth
out
is out there. It's out there. You'll find it, folks. Yes.
The famous prison.
As long as we don't go over 10 seconds with that.
Maybe.
I don't want to be hit by Vince
Oh,
Gill.
no.
Yeah, I know. That was like a
For the
good
ring
4
now.
seconds.
No, that was like about
4
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah. But
I think
That's
we're okay.
totally safe.
it's interesting
Could've
because
recreated it.
I mean this
Oh, yeah.
this in and of itself is part of freedom, like we were talking about, and part of the media complex and things like that. I mean, heck, people forget that it's still to this day called the theory of evolution. We got like an 87% complete theory, but that's not complete.
Well, okay. When we start talking about scientific theories, like
Yeah.
people need to understand that when a scientific theory comes out, it's basically the closest thing to a fact that you can have.
But it's not a law.
But it's not a law.
Well,
Exactly.
the law of gravity, but that's just like in the wording. But
No, that's
what I'm
actually a
saying,
thing.
what I'm saying is with that is that a theory in scientific terms is, it's not like just some like made up bullshit.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. Like I said, the theory of evolution is about 87% complete. We're pretty close.
More sense.
We're pretty close.
Well, we understand it to an extent, but yeah, the thought, it's kind of like the thought isn't complete.
But
It
but
can't
it's,
be. Yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
But
You're the guest.
So, a theory, there has to be significant push towards its reality, but it can't become a law until it's an actual, like universal truth.
Right, but like for things
So
like
I'm not discrediting you
Yeah,
by
What
calling
goes
it,
up
like,
must come down.
Yeah, like I'm not discrediting
Yeah.
you by saying it's not a law yet. I mean,
Gravity was a theory, now it's a law.
I do actually think that the Earth is only 3,000 years old, and the dinosaur bones were put there by people who were trying to discredit Christianity, or discredit that. But I mean, those are just my theories. So I'm gonna stick with them.
Yeah.
'Cause I believe in them.
Way to be an eye. I like you.
I mean, there is like a there is actually like a vernacular difference between like a law and a theory.
Oh,
in
sure.
scientific
That's
terms.
what
Oh
I'm saying.
no, not even vernacular. It's
No,
like
it's
a
a real
by
definition.
definition different.
Yeah, like so you can't call something a theory, you call it a law. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like
Well, and that's just it. It's yet to be. At one point, it
laws-
was the theory
laws
of
are,
gravity.
Like mathematical, like they're just like this is
Well, it can be proved on every spectrum.
Yeah.
Is the point of it.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
so,
comes up, like you said,
What comes up goes down.
However that is,
Equal-
no matter what situation you put it in.
Equal
Yeah.
and opposite reaction, things like
Yeah.
that. Even relativity, as
Those
we
are the
know,
laws of physics.
is
or
as of
thermodynamics.
right now
Exactly.
still.
Exactly.
And it's a theory because
And
it's
we
an
may-
ever-evolving theory because
Right.
it's about relativity
And
and it's
yeah, and
about observation.
The only thing that,
So-
and that's why relativity, it actually can never be proven.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem.
By
That's why it's
nature.
not the law of relativity because there's always
Right.
infinite possibilities after the
That's
fact.
right. And not only that,
And
there's
that's what evolution
spooky
is.
action at a
theories
distance.
are actually
Oh, yeah.
way
Things like
more
that.
useful.
I like relativity.
Absolutely.
for
I
our-
think that's relative.
But there does come the curiosity of we're I forget how many genetic markers away from chimpanzees,
Not that many.
but at the same
We're
time,
not the same.
only about 20 away from an earthworm.
Right.
I think-
We're only a few
All-
more away
all
from
life is-
earthworm at the same
Yeah,
So we're
time.
like what,
Essentially-
98% of like
So-
chimps that are like.
I think it's even
98%?
closer. I think we're like
It's
7
pretty
or
close, yeah.
something
Like
DNA
fucking,
markers
like,
away
it's
from
pretty
it.
close.
I don't know. That's like
Well,
a
you
super
and I are
random.
like basically we have the same.
Right.
I
it's
mean,
like-
I'm basically an earthworm, so.
But at the same time, here's
that makes
here's an
sense.
interesting thought though. At the same time, your body would reject a chimpanzee heart. or a
But
chimpanzee liver.
it will
But we'll
accept
accept
a
a
pig
pig's
liver.
heart and a pig liver.
Yeah.
I just watched a show.
Yeah.
Right now.
Really? Is that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
They do
Put a
that
pig
for
heart
people.
in
So
my-
if you,
Yep.
if you want to be real smart, while you're
Get some
young,
pigs,
you know,
bro.
Get some pigs out there, so when you do have bad
There you
heart,
go.
Organ harvesting. That's the new
Oh my
future.
God,
Yeah.
now I'm thinking of like Lawnmower Man.
They do it with sheep.
Oh,
They
you're
just-
going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
go,
beautiful.
I like
All right,
Yeah.
but that is the power of freedom, right?
Just-
to be able
It
to
is.
use a pig's heart or liver to
As long
maintain your
as
existence.
the pig wasn't a serial
Because
killer.
you don't want to be on that waiting list. Just say, hey, it's out in my backyard, bro. Just go get it.
His name's Harold,
That's
and
right.
he's willing to give me his liver.
That's right.
Harold
He's
is
telling you
a
this.
Capricorn from
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah.
You like
But
walking
yeah,
to the beach.
but that is a biological fact.
Nobody
Your,
likes long walks
your
on the
body,
You
even though
gotta say something.
even genetically
Long walks on short
closer,
piers.
even though genetically
that one better.
closer to chimpanzee than pig, your body will genetically reject a chimpanzee heart in transplant, but accept a pig heart.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
know
a
that's
pig
kind
one.
of weird, you know, because
It's
you would
kind
think
of odd.
it wouldn't do it, but it does.
You know what?
Next
That's
week,
weird
I'm getting a
because
pig
you
hat.
think that it wouldn't happen, but it does.
Yeah.
So like I'm
Yeah.
lost.
That's that spooky action.
It is the spooky
Oh, wait,
action
where's
of
the
this
exhaust?
one. That's well, and you know that's just it. When it comes down to it, like Tom was saying, there's theory and there's law, and I think it's kind of the same way with freedom. There is law and there is universal truth. Should all men be free, as we know freedom today? Yes, absolutely. Everybody is free to make their own choice. Are you free to make your own choice and live by your own actions and live by the consequence of your own actions? Absolutely. I think those two things are philosophically, intrinsically tied
Yeah,
together.
You're free to go and
That's like
rob a
that's like
bank, but you're gonna
human
go
law.
for it.
That's it. That's
You would think.
Yeah.
you would think. You would think that it's a universal
Right.
law. Not necessarily.
Exactly.
You would
Depending
think
Well,
that
okay.
you would think that by the laws of just being a sensible person,
Right.
it would be wrong to violate another person
Right.
in any
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
However, the legal structure and the justice system has
Yeah.
not supported that thought.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Well, and depending on the culture in and of itself. You know, and that's just it. Like, our freedom is so much defined by our culture. And so intrinsically defined by
Like
our
I was
culture.
saying in that last episode,
We-
if we didn't have the lines, on the map, like we take down all the country lines. I mean, come on, dude. We're all human beings on this planet.
Yes,
you know
we
what
are.
I mean?
Yes, we are. But
Let's
there's
just recognize everybody for what we are, rather than
But-
I live over here, I'm Russian,
Well-
or I'm this.
well,
or I'm
and
that.
there's definitely the lines of
We're different
division.
from
But
each
what,
other. No, we're not.
but what you have to understand as human, yes,
Right.
that line is universal. We're all human. We all technically have, by all psychology, the same
Except for
wants
the
and needs. We all have the need to survive, the need to procreate, the need to eat, the need to get water. We all have these same principal needs,
The need
To
to drink
live.
beer on the 4th of July.
which is pretty much water. I'm drinking Coors Light.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Texas.
It's pretty
It's hot
much-
as hell, so I ain't drinking nothing
Like,
So
crazy.
let's drink a Colorado beer.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
We're supposed to.
Yeah, we're supposed to have
Be a little
No.
more patriotic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Texas has the best state shape in the country.
It does.
Obviously.
Best for
Most
dipping
definable.
salsa.
Pain.
Most
Unless
definable.
It's Florida's penis shape. That
Yeah,
comes out.
Florida's a big dick.
Yeah.
You got all those like kind of squares like
And
Colorado.
California does kind of look like an ass.
I think
Big
it
old
just
booty.
is.
It's got that nice round shape
Oh, I see what
on
you're
the
saying.
side. You know what I mean?
No,
I mean,
no.
there's a lot of ass in California.
But the freedom there,
They
the
get their
concept of
droppings.
freedom, is different the world over. It's different in an agrarian society. It's different in a metropolitan society. It's totally different in a Bedouin tribal society in the Middle East, or even a tribal society in Africa, or even society as we know it in Asia. we all have different aspects of freedom. Like my friends,
it's
Derek
a
and
vague
Ruth.
term, really. You would think about.
Well, it's an individually defined
How you
term.
perceive it, right?
You know, I mean, heck, freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose.
Ha!
Hey, Janice, how
You
you
know.
doing?
I was wondering what that was.
Actually,
that
that's no.
But she
No.
did
Yeah,
say it.
it's
She did say it.
Chris
Yeah.
Christopherson, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, the writer of the actual song.
Covered by,
Yeah,
Bobby was
right.
actually a girl, not a boy.
Yeah.
okay.
That's why
so
it's
I'm not
B-O-B-B-I,
crazy.
not B-O-B-B-Y.
I should know that too,
Yeah.
so you're fine.
No,
I
I
was
knew
not
that. I
being
knew that.
myself.
Yeah,
I was
here
like,
I am,
yeah.
and I teach music, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Absolutely. Written by, either way, written by a Texan.
Texas today.
But yeah, you know, it is literally that concept of it's the last ditch effort. It's the only thing that you can do. It's the fact of, just like you were saying earlier, I say it all the time, it takes a certain level of crazy to be self-employed. It takes a certain level of crazy to live the American dream. Because, yeah,
No, you're taking risks.
people,
sometimes that people
like
tell you
Amy
that you
said,
shouldn't be
it was
taking.
started by crazy people. Like, only 13 to 18% of the populace of America supported the American Revolution. With 13 to 8, not even 20% of the people behind it,
Right.
we beat Britain.
Right, wow. That's
With
the
not
kind
even 20% of the populace.
Right, but those people were crazy.
And so convicted.
Right.
So convicted was
Hey,
their
they
belief
got shit done, you know?
that
Yeah, crazy.
that they were
Right.
like they said, we'll either all hang together or we'll all hang separately.
And
One
Yeah.
of the
the
two.
British Empire laughed at us when we became free. Like, they laughed
Yeah.
when we even thought that
Separate
we could do
flag.
that.
That we could even exist without
That
them.
we could even have a realized idea behind what we were trying
That's
to
right.
do. So the fact that we are on our Independence Day in 2017 after Brexiting,
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty
the
cool.
original. It's and it is cool. And the fact that we actively have the right through powers of free speech, powers of protest, to say what we want to on this show,
Right.
to do what we want to do, is incredible in and of itself. Because there are still countries out there that listen to us that cannot do this.
I've seen just recently, like 2 days ago, North Korea, this new documentary that came out that's really great. That the people, you know, like, first of all, it was like propaganda-ish because
Yeah.
the whatever his name is let the reporters in do this stuff to kind of, and they specified, we want you to like make us look good and stuff. But then he went ahead and he like documented other things, and then
Yeah.
like, you know, all the people that are going behind his back that are trying to get in all the sitcom shows and all the stuff that, because they can only see, they said when they turn on the TV, it's stuff about him, his family, and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
totally controlled, all information. They have no internet.
Yeah.
They do now have cell phones, but the SIM card is only to making calls within the
It's-
country.
It's locked down to the
Yeah,
country region.
The whole thing
exactly.
is locked down. So they meet people at the border. They smuggle in goods. Information goes in. Information goes out. But there's people inside that are they crave this information.
That's right.
And it's like, if it was so good, like the dictator is saying, then why is his people needing this information and there's a demand for it?
That's it.
I mean,
Well, and not just that. How utterly, you know, and I know you were there in the episode where we played the audio clip from Denzel Washington,
right,
where
exactly.
where they were getting, it was before the election, where they were saying, you know, there was a news story where he had apparently switched his vote. He was like, yeah, I don't know anything about that. You know, the crazy thing that actually happens is the responsibility that you guys have to report the truth. And that's the huge responsibility is the search for the truth, and realizing that, and seeing the fact that this was just something that somebody did to grab a headline,
Right.
and to be the first to drop a
Drop the
headline,
headline.
not to be the first to research a story and actually report something. And that's the dangerous line that we walk, because we have created this society of immediacy. We have created this society of people that want the answer right now.
Right.
When, the answer may actually be a point of discussion that takes years. Go ahead.
They want the headline.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want
Exactly.
that grabbing headline. It doesn't really matter whether or not it's trending towards the goal that they want to meet.
Doesn't matter if you're going to write both headlines just in case.
In case you got because you got to know
Playing
your
both
audience.
sides of the field. That's always been
You
around.
have to know your audience. Any good entertainer knows that. It's like, I know who I'm working for. Like that's it. I know who I'm working for.
Yeah.
And so if you're not grabbing the headlines, it doesn't really matter because there is a responsibility of the media. But I actually think that it's been really irresponsible lately because the headline grabbers. That's not what we want to trend towards.
No.
In fact, it's encouraging, like what I was saying before. It's like distraction from the actual issues. These headline grabbers are just infuriating to me. On all sides. I'm not saying just on one side or the other. I'm saying all across the board.
I know some of them personally on all sides.
And they know what they're doing. They have to get their readership up. You want to get circulation up. You want to get more views on your blog post. Whatever. You got to make it sensational.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like yellow journalism. Like, the muckrakers back in the time of William H. Hearst or William Randolph Hearst. Yes.
Yep.
Like that whole yellow journalism thing. It's kind of like that now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, look at that point. That's right around the time that Animal Farm came out. Right up around the time that The Jungle came out by Upton Sinclair, where it was exposing, like Tom was saying earlier, some of the first seedy underbelly of the industrialization of America, where it was like, okay, so we have these cattle yards, and this is how we're feeding America, but let's look at what's happening in order to make this progress occur. And it tracks things back, like The Jungle by Upton Sinclair traces things back. Animal Farm takes things into a philosophic light, more of,
exploitation of labor, cutting costs.
Even as far as 1984 and things like that. Like we are actively living these stories of fiction.
What was that movie that was kind of banned back in the
Brazil.
Brazil.
Was that it? No, there was another one.
I just think of that often.
Nowadays.
Nowadays.
That was it turned out to be a famous movie, later on a remake, and it was like about the Hearst guy.
You're talking about you're talking about
what was it?
Are you talking about the Aviator?
No,
that's Howard Hughes.
That's Howard Hughes. No, he's talking about Rosebud. He's talking about Citizen Kane.
That's it, Citizen Kane.
So that's Orson Welles. That's Orson Welles.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Citizen Kane.
Yeah, so Orson Welles played
Orson Welles, but it was banned when it first came out and just kept hush-hush because, Hearst did not want that. He's like, that's about my life. That's about me. You're trying to
that's the reaction. All right, got it.
You're trying to smear my
ass. This is a smear campaign against him, but absolutely, like, if you look back at the cause, like, what he was doing to help the war effort and things like that, like that was an absolute truth and is an absolute truth. We do it to this day. It's kind of like not too long ago, I posted a thing about Eric Holder considering a presidential run, and I'm like, no, but hell no. And I'm not even talking party lines. I'm talking about somebody that decided it's okay to be able
the drones.
It's okay to be able to kill somebody by a drone strike that's an American citizen.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's legal.
Yeah.
That's utterly constant. No,
it's not.
No. I'm sorry. And those are the things, like you were saying earlier, Emily, that we made point to point out that the laws that people don't realize are attached to things, attached to addendums, attached to House bills, that kind of stuff. Things that strike down the Smith-Mundt Act, where propaganda can now be made. And it took 5-6 years for that to come about to be the NDAA 2017, where now there's an office that's publicly funded
of
anti-propaganda propaganda. Like now we're making propaganda to fight propaganda, and that's okay. No, still propaganda.
That's
not allowable.
That's the craziest
Can't
part.
do it.
That's the craziest
Can't do
part.
it.
There's this short story by Well, there's Alice B. Sheldon, and it's called The Girl Who Was Plugged In, and it's in like this dystopian universe where, oh, actually, I don't know if it's
Oh, that's in
dystopian.
Japan.
Well, but basically ads are illegal. So what the major companies do is they find another way to advertise by making like androids that are like, you know what I always do when I go out is drink a Coca-Cola just in front of like a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So there's always a way to get around what the agenda
That's
of
right.
like Tom said before, the capitalistic agenda.
Absolutely.
There's always some way
There's always
to
a
get around
workaround.
it.
Right.
And I
Always a
feel
workaround.
Like there's
And when mine is
just,
God, He will
there you
make
go.
it happen.
That's right. That's
You'll
right.
create your own androids to
And-
promote your soda.
That's
and
right.
make sure they're hot.
And, you know,
That's
Yeah,
an
and
expensive
that's
promotional
what's
deal.
on that note, guys, I can't thank y'all enough for coming. Steve, I can't thank you enough for making it. Good stuff.
More to
Tom,
come.
Emily, thank you so much for making it out to
I
the
ain't
Dudes and
done.
Beer July
Yeah.
4th episode. We actually have some pork ribs that finished off just as we started this episode, that finished off on the grill and went to warm in the oven. We've got a bunch of sausage and corn and, you know, like tons of watermelon. It's about as American as you can get. It'll be even more American as Steve-O brought the explosives.
I know.
But that's all right. That's all right. Oh no, we can find something. I guarantee you.
Getting gasoline, kerosene.
On that note,
Cat
ladies
litter.
and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 115 of the Dudes and Beer podcast. It's because of you guys that we make this happen every week. Thank you so much for continuing to listen. Thank you for all of those that do listen on a regular basis. I am Chris Jordan, your host. And until next time, everybody, remember, if you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Take care. Happy 4th of July. Don't drink and drive, everybody. Don't drink and drive. No refuse weekend all over the country. And good God, man, throw that thing out of your hand before the fuse is down to the bottom. That's how you lose fingers. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. To listen to our audio streams and chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for both Android and iDevices, available on the Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the Revolution Digital Group family of podcasts. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.